La 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 la. All right. All right, so we got a decent open in the market up 0.33%. You know, yesterday was interesting because there was finally a little bit of a change in price action in the tech stocks as they've been really weak for the last month. You know, we ended up with a all-day trender. I mean, that's, you know, minus the last 15, 20 minutes, but all-day trender. I think these tech stocks are starting to bottom out. You know, a big portion of kind of like what was happening, you know, has been like the rise of interest rates or whatever, small rise in interest rates, I should say. But I think we're probably, you know, getting into a nice bottoming pattern. If you really look at like, you know, past history, the QQQs go through these kinds of consolidations every year. You know, like you see here, like this was from September right till December. Like this is 4 months. The market was just chopping around. You know, market is chopping around for months. You know, and if you really look at like past years, you see like very, very similar, you know, similar actions for periods of time. You know, like the previous year. This is August. You know, really we didn't start trending again until November. So this was 3, 4, 5 months too. So like if you're like a swing trader or something going through a little period of pain, that's actually very, very normal. There's just certain markets where you'll make your lunch, and those are probably, they last like, they're about 2, 3 months of the year. And then the rest of the year, like markets will chop around, you know, up and down sometimes or in range. You don't always get that kind of berserko action that we were getting, you know, in January, February. But it looks like now we're starting to put a little bit of a bottoming pattern in. I think this 325 level will be really important on the Qs. And from there, we'll have to see, you know, what happens. But overall, I think, you know, the action has been constructive and very telling of just how markets act when you're inside a very, very larger range. When the markets are trending, you know, your bad behavior actually gets rewarded, you know, and bad trading actually ends up making sometimes more money than even good trading because, you know, you can oversize and YOLO and overtrade and hold overnight and, you know, do a whole host of stupid things that make you money and actually make you think you're smarter than you are. And then those things, when you get stuck in a range, they change, right? Where it's like a precision matters a lot more. So we're starting to see that, but you guys are in probably a good spot in a few more days. You'll be able to start YOLOing things again. BNT, let's take a look at the earnings plays and we'll see what's going on after. So there's been kind of one of these kind of crack stocks. There's been one of these kind of crack stocks every day. You know, this is not really my cup of tea, but, you know, probably something if you like your small caps to do. This Pet the Cat, you know, we've been trading this. Fuck, man. I had a couple thousand of these things at $29 yesterday. Oh, shit. Sometimes the only thing you can do wrong is to sell. Holy shit. I think this thing is probably a little bit long in the tooth to, you know, keep trading, at least with any conviction. If you trade something like this is a day, you know, a day trader at this point. Now that you're getting so extended from the 9 EMA, you're probably going to get a lot more shakeouts. You're going to get a lot more shakeouts on this one. There is, you know, other NFT stocks that are holding up here. And you probably can add in, you know, Waikiki and even maybe Wimmy to this group. Hold on here. Yeah, there's some other NFT stocks that, you know, you can play that maybe aren't as extended. Hold on here. Let's see if we got anything that holding up here. Pet the Cat. Yeah, like see this YVR, if you look at this one, even though it is extended on a very short-term basis, if you look at its weekly chart, you really have like some room to go. You know, it's a big-time breakout over here that's going back like, you know, about a year and a half, and this one probably has a tiny market cap. You know, so I think that one still's got a little bit of room to go. This Funko's been just grinding down here. You've got a gap fill, you know, in this area. I think probably, if you start to see a bid come in on this one, you start to see a little bit of rounding action. This one does have the ability to, it'll be dead and then it'll rip like 4 or 5 points, when it starts to break over that trend line. Atari's been just shredding. IPNF is junk. You can see there's a couple of these that are left. It looks like, really OCJ, TCAT, and YVR and ZCAT, they have all the heat on them. TCAT's the most extended. I think probably we could still keep trading this ZCAN and even YVR. I think that TCAT, Pet the Cat's going to be just, Pet the Cat's going to be really tricky to trade. So we'll have to be careful on that. Make sure that, we don't get... You don't want to be left holding the bag on those kind of stocks. Because when you are, when the dance is over, somebody's got to get smoked out, right? Somebody's got to get smoked out. You want to make sure that's not you. But I think this one's probably going to have still maybe one more day in it. Cuckoo. Oh, look at this thing. No liquidity. It's important to have some liquidity in these names. This Mogo's been holding up here. You got another 8% gap on this after a down day yesterday. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing break out. It looks like yesterday there was some kind of shakeout, and now they've rebought this thing back up. Keep an eye on this 12-ish zone. If that happens, this thing's going to have probably a really big ripper for a few days. Run, analyst upgrades, Goldman Ball Sachs upgrades, Sunrun to buy from neutral. This is a bottoming pattern, so anytime you have, like a stock that's been shredded, and you have, essentially what looks like, right, a W, that's typically a bottoming pattern, especially when the EMAs tighten up like this and you start to break over them. They can actually have some juice. They can have some juice. I'd actually put this on the list. We saw SPWR going yesterday too. Had a nice range on it. This is also, right, this is just a longer term bottoming pattern. When you get something that's so extended, right, this thing was like $6, goes to $60. After that kind of run, it often takes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months even to really shake out and bring in new buyers. When you get that extended on these names, if you think some of these solar stocks, even ENPH, right? This was $20 last year. It gets almost $300, $250. At some point, right, that has to change, and then they shake out for periods of months. But when you start to see that kind of W look in action, that's when you'll have yourself a nice, a nice run. So you're starting to see that on this run. I'd actually keep this on the list for today. Add that to the gapper list. Dun, 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 SLGG, junk. Oh, man. Not too many news plays out today, huh? CPE. Yeah, interesting enough. So there must be something with the dollar or something, because all these commodity plays are getting smoked out today. Yeah, you can see this. This is a commodity play. CPE, commodity play. SM, right, down 4%. So you got some nasty little drops in some of these, right? FUV, oil down 6%. So you're getting a little bit of a rotation out of some of these names that have been really running for the last few months. Some of these things CP and stuff, this is like a buck. A lot of these oil names have been running all year. So now with tech heating back up, you'll see a rotation most likely out of these kind of names and back into tech as tech starts to get a bid. So that's, if you like tech stocks, that ends up being a good thing. But probably the run in these is over. You have 1,000% gainers in most of these type of names. That's all you're really going to get out of probably some oil stocks. Anyways, you can see this is, right, commodities names. So we need a little bit of a short. We could probably keep a couple of these bad boys I'd probably go with like CPE and SM. Those tend to be the two most extended ones. If there's a bleed out in that sector today, I think that, you can see here, this is like a big breakdown. You break it on 20 SMA, and you also got, right, like a nice kind of rollover over here. This is a nice, easy, that's a good spot right there. I think, I think we need some shorts later on. We can use this one. Maybe even SM has got a little rollover spot here. And we can go in and shred these things. They're all a little bit bloated. This one was also like sitting at $1 and some change, $1.20. Fuck. That's $1.20 to 20. That's a big return for the year. So let's add both of those for potential shorts later. They're both gapping down, like CP's gapping down 10%, so we'd have to probably wait it out. But let's add those in for now. All right, now let's take a look at the regular watch list. We had a couple inside days on some of these names. Vuzi had an inside day yesterday, so I think this is probably top of the list for today. He had an inside day. Let's see if this thing goes red to green, and then an attack on 29. This DM also, like after that big run, this is a 3D printing company. He had an inside day. This is on watch for red to green today. Laser had an inside day, very tight range yesterday after the big trend. And you can see this one's probably the best out of the inside. If you need the inside day scan, it works pretty well. Inside day is once you get a big push, you have one rest day where you're inside the previous day's range. That usually ends up being very bullish. If you go red to green on those days and start taking out that first day's high, that's actually can trigger like a big type of breakout, and it works very, very well. So like if you really see like this, like pet the cat right after this big push to 40, see the next day how you have the candle inside this previous day's range. That's your telltale sign that you're gonna break out. So like yesterday, right, we took this pet the cat on the red to green. Why? Because of that inside day. So always be mindful. Now you can see even before, right, you had this huge push to 9, then the next day you had that inside day, and then you start to go. And it's actually been happening a lot on these kind of momentum names, and something always to keep in mind. Oftentimes, like, we're looking at the previous day to think like what we should trade today, but often the best thing to do is to look at not the previous day, but the previous day, and you get the inside day. I have a scan on TC2000. I think I put in the TC2000 channel. It works pretty well. It needs a couple slight adjustments on it, but it works pretty well. So let's go back into that. So laser, good. DM, Vuzi, these are all top of the list. Possibly even later, I think this D-triple-Ds is like at a really tight range here. If tech is going to start to get picked up, if it keeps its bid, I think that this one, you've got I've got an alert set here. I set an alert around like $30. If it starts to come in here, the range on this is so you can see here, like it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. When you have like that tightness of range where it gets so tight, usually that's like a telltale signal if the market holds up that you may get that like boom pop. And we know like when this triple D's wants to go, like it can move 5, 6, 7 points all in one day. So I like this one a lot. I think this is also, had a little bit of a rest day, couple rest days. It looks like it's getting ready to cook. Good. These Bitcoin stocks, I think we probably got to leave them alone for a little bit. I've been thinking they're going to rip for a few days, and they've just been sitting around. This might just be one of those things, too, where, you're up more thousands of percent, and, you need that, like that multi-month consolidation, and We're kind of in at 1 month so far. So we'll see. I'm not sure. I think out of all of them, this can has, come down the most. It's down about 50%. I'd watch one more push down will kind of trigger maybe an oversold bounce, but that's not an easy trade. If anybody knows, like, hold on, if anybody knows, like, bounce plays, bounce plays are the fucking, they're the hardest thing to do in trading. Here you go, Ryan. Good. Yeah, I think maybe one more push down. We need some techs. If the Qs are really going to hold up, and even take out yesterday's highs and we want to trend again, we need access to techs. Like, you want to be in these techs that are like sitting on some support. Obviously Peloton's just like a trader for us that we've been using a long time. But you can go with really any of these. They all have the same kind of patterns, like AMD, Peloton. AMD's too slow for me, but Peloton's holding up pretty well. And there's a whole host of them. I'd go through the QQQs, and you'll see a whole host of these that really held up pretty well. Like the Splunk has got a nice bottoming pattern here. This thing's like $170. You got a nice bottoming pattern running over these couple EMAs here. Like, I think some of these things will probably start to get picked up at some point. You may even get some breakouts in some of these things, like, Airbnb and stuff that are holding up. But I think that's the list. I think our focus is those three inside day stocks, triple Ds, and then we want to look at tech. We want to look at tech like Peloton, Run. You could do AMD, Apple, those kind of things. Those are going to be a little bit slower, but some of the big cap tech will also, you can see, like, this was actually had pretty good range, Yeah, Nvidia, Roku, right? These are all starting to show some bottoming patterns. These can all be potentially played. Good. That's the list. I'm sticking to it. The Roku, that's a good idea. Yeah, I think we had DDDs. We're going to shred. I don't think we're going to need too much else. And then word to the wise of just don't chase up this TCAT. If you play these kind of names, size accordingly. Don't chase. Don't be a victim, right? Just, do what needs to be done. But that's the list. I'm sticking to it. Why is JMIA such a salute? Big cap techs. We need some techs. Run. Cool. All right. I think we got a good list. Let's keep it sexy today. You're right, Mr. Kolkowski. That does have a good chart also. This one's probably setting up for a breakout. This actually has held up very, very well. When you have a stock that held up so well, when the market's been tanking, that's a bullish thing. My only worry with this one is that it's got earnings out in like a few days. Cool. That's the list. I'm sticking to it.